Come on their own for. Ling Yan, you're all right. Comforted by the sight, Bai Yin caresses the girl's hair and asked, Where's your brothers? Biting her little finger. They followed an auntie and left. Gone. The concerned mother cocked an eyebrow and turned to the guardian maid. Explain, Muing, what is going on? Going slightly pale at the inquiry, the maid knew she better told the truth, and all the truth, lest she meets the same fate as her own mother. Truth be told though, Muing never wanted to follow through with whatever plan the older prince had in mind. It's risky in her view. Even so, she had no say or right to order someone much higher than herself in the pyramid ladder. My queen, His Highness Prince Xiachen said the Celestial Palace wants to go after the princess. In order to put a stop to that threat, he is intending to remove the threat in person. That's why he's having the second prince impersonate the princess, due to their similar figure and face. Right now they should be heading to the prearranged location organized by Wuxia. After saying that, the maid could feel a noticeable drop in temperature around herself, and the increasingly cold eyes coming her way didn't help either. Mother. It's then Ling Yin speaks up, rubbing her own dreary eyes filled tired fatigue. I am sleepy, I want nappy. It's not intentional, but the girl's crisp childish voice did ease up the demon queen's stern hard face. Here Muing, take my daughter to her room and let her sleep. I want you by her side at all times, do you understand? I do not want a single person you do not know getting anywhere close to her. And if they do, I believe you understand what I'm saying, right? Yes, I do, Your Highness, I won't fail you. Arching her fist, the almost heroic-looking Muing complies with distinguished determination. Seeing how Muing was ready to take Ling Yan and leave, Bai Yin stops her again after remembering something else. Hold on. Since Xiachen wants to use this chance to draw out Wuxia, then let him. I will follow them from behind. However, I want you to dress Ling Yan up in Xiachen's clothes before you bring her inside the palace. Yes. Muing exhales heavily, relieved that she's not being called to be reprimanded. Then at further thought, something hit her at the realization of what her instructions meant. Why is the queen having me dress the princess up as the prince? Does Wuxia have other eyes in the palace that we're not aware of? She did not think too much of this though. The issue had gone way beyond her scope of duty. Nodding in compliance, Muing continued to head for the palace without looking back. Not far from the city's premise, Red Leaf had just finished leading Bai Xiachen and Dijin Tian to the prearranged location she had with Wuxia. This dark damp place was a cave, a good meeting spot for some dark dealings. Brother, what are we doing here? The little glutton asks, his face puzzled and unsure of what to make of this place. Jin Tian, listen to me. From this point forward, everything that we do are for Ling Yan's sake, so you must follow my instructions, said the steam bun with a stern face. You are a man, a pillar of our family. It's your job to protect your sister and our mother. That's your duty. Glowing in the face over the responsibility, the little glutton felt proud and happy. Yes, big brother. I will protect mother and Ling Yan. I am very, very good. That's right, you are a very good boy. Now don't say anything from this point forward, in case they find out you are an imposter. Of one of the main reasons Bai Xiachen would dare to bring Jin Tian out with him for this plan, was because the little glutton's a boy, while the Celestial Palace was after a girl. Even if they are discovered somehow, it's unlikely those people would try to kidnap his younger brother. Come on their own 5. But even so, he's going to do everything in his darnest to protect his younger brother, and not let him get hurt in the slightest. He demands himself of this and no less. Firming up in the face, Bai Xiachen suddenly took notice to a strange energy signature that flickered within the vicinity of his hiding spot. The steam bun wanted to locate the source, but it came too fast and went away just as fast, causing a puzzled look along the boy's face. If I'm not wrong, that should be Wuxia's energy signature, but where is she? Outside the cave, Wuxia, the traitorous girl, was indeed hiding in a well-covered spot, her eyes grim and hard while staring into the damp cavernous cave. She wants to confirm if the child she sees are indeed the princess, which she could vaguely make out from her distance. Of course, the plan was working out perfectly since Jin Tian had his back turned to the evil witch. He and Ling Yan are twins, though different gender and slightly chubby. It won't hinder his ability to impersonate his own sister in this case, since he's wearing a dress. Coupling with the fact that Mu Xue's not expecting Red Leaf to betray her, she's quickly letting her guards down and grew conceited. That bitch should be lured away from the palace by now, cackling a sinister grin at the thought. Now's my chance. Giving one final glance at the cave, Mu Xue quickly turned for the palace and disappeared from this valley. After waiting for a while, Dijin Tian was beginning to grow increasingly more bored and agitated. He's squirming around looking for something to do, but he always stopped short of moving from his location upon remembering his order. Strange, Bai Xiachen mutters this to himself. Just now I clearly felt it, I'm not wrong. Why is that Mu Xue not coming? Pouting, the boy was also growing increasingly more depressed at his failing plot. Big brother, what's wrong? Toddling over after finding the oddity in his older brother's expression, Dijin Tian stretched out his hands to tug at the sleeve, shaking his head at the concern. It's nothing. I'm only worried that our plan might have been exposed somehow. I wanted to lure Mu Xue out using this occasion, and perhaps remove her as well. But she's not coming at all. If we don't succeed here, then those bad people from the Celestial Palace might learn of Ling Yan's existence. By then it will be dangerous for your sister, and they might steal her away. The little glutton actually looked stunned, but then that reaction didn't last long because tears swiftly came pouring out of those eyes like a waterfall. Big brother, I don't want Ling Yan to be taken away. Wah, I don't want hick. I won't be greedy and eat so much anymore. I will train hard and grow stronger. Then I will protect Ling Yan, and not let those bad people hurt us. Knowing he said too much and caused his little brother to start crying, Bai Xiachen quickly reached over with his hand to wipe those tears. Don't worry, I won't let them. They will never lay their hands on Ling Yan. Perhaps the promise was enough, or Dijin Tian was just that gullible. But the little glutton did stop crying right away. I believe in Big Brother. He won't lie. Mother. Suddenly, the corner of Bai Xiachen's eyes picked up the familiar red figure, and yelled out with surprise in his voice. Mother, how did you get here? Bai Yin didn't reply right away, only scanning the cave and making sure both her sons are all right. When she did so, the woman couldn't be any more relieved. Both of them are her life, her blood. If so much as a scratch come through them, she would feel just as pained and more. You silly, how can you keep this from your own mother? If you want to catch Mu Xue, then there's plenty of ways to do it. Why take such risk? Come on their own 6. Bai Xiachen hung his head, knowing he didn't think everything through and made a blunder. Mother, this is all my idea. It has nothing to do with Jin Tian and Ling Yan. The steam bun was afraid Bai Yen would blame his younger siblings, so he immediately shouldered the responsibility. Seeing the guilty look coming out of his son's dejected face, Bai Yen couldn't help but sigh. She couldn't be too harsh on him. After all, she also failed in this regard for not protecting them better. Mu Xue tried to lead me out of the palace. I think perhaps going after Ling Yan isn't her only purpose. Puzzlement showed along that little face. Mother, what do you mean by that? Shaking her head. It's nothing. Let's go back to the palace first. I can't be at ease with you and your brother staying outside like this. Nor do I feel comfortable leaving Ling Yan alone in the palace. Do not leave the city again, do you understand? Her serious tone once again causes the boy to flinch, which made him look even more pathetic in the face. It couldn't be helped. Bai Xiachen really lacked consideration in his little plan. He's lucky it turned out this way with Bai Yin locating them, and not something worse. But the little glutton was too young to understand any of this. For Jin Tian, he only saw how their mother was reprimanding his older brother, and wanted to help. Don't scold Big Brother, please. Jin Tian tugs at the woman's sleeve, his face pitiful and teary, making a smile to comfort her younger son. Don't be sad, Jin Tian. I'm only teaching your older brother, I'm not angry. I will overlook it this time. But there won't be a second time. Anyways, who allowed you two to leave the city despite my orders to not do so? Bai Xiachen's body visibly stiffened up over that question. Mother, it's me. I threatened them to let me out. And under my bloodline pressure, they didn't dare to stop me. I snuck out like that. I see. I am at fault too then for being so careless. I thought you kids would be safe as long as you're in the city, but I'm clearly wrong in that regard. Very well. For the time period you kids are to stay in the palace, and not allowed to step outside. You're grounded, both you and your younger brother. Bai Xiaochen almost wanted to cry and plead for mercy. He's going to be bored to death being stuck inside the palace grounds. There's nothing to play with. However, he also knows there's no other way to wiggle out of this situation. After all, he's been caught red-handed and failed as well in his little scheme to catch Mu Shui. The boy has no grounds to stand on. Back over in the main body of the palace, the whole residence has been plunged into chaos due to the princess's supposed disappearance. Since Di Tsong and the elders are in a private meeting, they aren't aware of what's happening and none dared to barge in on their discussion due to prior orders. Then Bai Yin, their queen, wasn't around either, leaving the servants and soldiers without a head to lead them. Nevertheless, that doesn't mean every stretch of the palace grounds were in chaos. The princess's own wing was rather calm right now. Since the day of Mu Shui's betrayal, the care of Ling Yan has fallen entirely on Mu Ying's shoulder. Aside from this guardian maid, none are allowed to step inside this area. Lord Yuanpa, should we go inform the king? After all, the princess's disappearance is a big deal. A palace guard asks their head captain, with a rather anxious face. Yuanpa was in charge of security around these parts, so he's not feeling so well either. He's rigid and nervous, knowing what would happen if they don't locate the baby soon. Keep looking, and send someone out of the palace to search the city. Not only do we need to find the little princess, we also need to find the queen. Wiping the sweat off his forehead, he grits his teeth and snapped out this order. Then should we go look in the princess's residential wing again? Her Highness might have returned by now. Another guard suggests, hoping that might be the case. There's no need. I just saw the little prince heading into the princess's quarter to rest. It's best not to scare His Highness with this news, it's bad enough as it is. Yuanpa mutters this to his subordinates. Come on their own, 7. The twins are often accompanying each other, so it's not out of place to find Jin Tian resting at Ling Yan's room. Coupling in with the fact that the princess had gone missing, the guard captain simply left it at that. He's not finding this strange or anything, and don't want to stir up any more trouble than what's already on his table. Moreover, it was Mu Ying who carried the prince into the room the last he saw. A sure sign for him that it's not a fake on that side. You bunch keep looking. I'm going to report this to the king. Without another word, Yuanpa the guard captain rushes for the study where Di Tsong lies. It's unsure if he's just lucky or mere coincidence, but right as he's about to barge through that door, it opened. Reflecting into his eyes were that peerless contour of a man radiating power and dominance. Taking to his knee in a panic. Sire, it's not good, the princess and queen are both gone. This abrupt news instantly made Di Tsong's complexion go dark. Flashing a flicker of panic, he hurriedly closed his eyes to sense his wife's presence. When he realizes from the contract that Bai Yin was indeed missing and not in the palace, he went white. She's gone. Why did she leave again? Who is it? Who spoke to my wife and said something stupid again? There's no reason for Bai Yin to leave the city without telling me, unless something else has happened. Yuanpa timidly continues. I do not know the exact reasoning, sire. Only that someone told us the little princess is missing, and that the queen is gone. Under these circumstances, bang! The eyes coming off of Di Tsong radiated a murderous frost that was both violent and unnervingly calm, causing those around this demon king to flinch backwards. All I did was go into a meeting with the elders, and you useless bunch have already managed to anger my wife and make her leave again. Find out who is it that's responsible. I won't forgive that individual. Also, where is my brother-in-law Bai Xiao? Yuanpa meekly answered. Sir Bai Xiao. He's likely still in the palace somewhere. Bai Xiao is still here? That quickly doused some of the anger in the demon king, because he knows his wife wouldn't leave without her brother, if she really did run away. Brother-in-law. Suddenly, a voice came from the front and catches Di Tsong's attention. I heard my sister and Ling Yan is gone? Xiao, your sister wouldn't have left without a reason. Something must have happened during this period that we're not aware of. Exactly then when Di Song wanted to go investigate the matter by going in person, another series of running footsteps catches his attention. Kneeling there, the messenger sounded urgent. "Sire, someone is asking for an audience." Narrowing in his eyes, "Who is it?" "It's the leopard tribe's Wuxia." The messenger lowered his head even further until that forehead has touched the ground. "She says she knows where the queen and princess is." Instantly a shockwave rocked the study room, sending all of the books flying off the shelves and into the air. Di Song was very pissed at this moment, and it showed in the power he vented in that second. Bai Xiao on the other hand wasn't aware of who this Mu Shui, and became perplexed by the strong reaction. Who is this Mu Shui? Why is brother-in-law reacting so strongly? Let her in. Di Song snaps, his face expressionless and dark. Come on their own 8, yes sire. The guard complies and retreated, only to return not long after with the mentioned traitor in tow. Greetings to your majesty. Shy and flattering along the face, Mu Shui didn't bother to hide her fancy for the demon king that's currently further ahead. For Bai Xiao, who was standing next to his brother-in-law, the young lad didn't like this leopard girl in the slightest upon first glance. Right now, he only wants to see how Di Song's going to deal with this person, who claimed to know where his sister and niece was. It's obvious to him this Mu Shui was a bad person, and meant to do something bad. You claim to know where my wife and daughter is? Di Song asks with an indifferent voice. This was a test from the man himself. Unlike others, Di Lingyan wasn't your average child. She too holds a special bond with Di Song. Through Bai Yan's blood she inherited. That's why the Demon King's able to verify the girl's whereabouts without needing to check in person. Now all he wants to know was what this Mu Shui's purpose was for coming after trying to evade them for so long. Sire, originally I didn't want to bring this matter to the surface, but I just can't bear to let this continue knowing how distressed the little princess is. Raising her shy face, the wretched witch attempts to put on a tearful appearance to win some more points in the eyes of the king. The princess is so lovely. It's a real tragedy that she is born with such a horrible mother. The queen actually gave her away to someone else. Boom. In an instant, a gust of wind surges forward from Di Song's body, causing a rising level of murderous intent in the air. What nonsense are you spouting? Bai Xiao also got angry and roared out his response by punching the girl's gut, which directly sent her flying back as well. I dare you to frame my sister again. A crunching sound could be heard from the lad's clenched fist. I won't let anyone frame her or talk bad about her. Coughing a mouthful of blood after crawling back up, Mu Shui felt great in light of the injury she sustained. The very fact that the person was acting so livid brought endless joy to this twisted woman's heart. Everything I said is true. I've seen it with my own eyes. The queen is still a human. Of course she would want to side with her own kind from the celestial palace. Seeing the increasingly dark expression coming out of Di Song's face, Mu Shui's voice also grew much more excited. So, out of concern for the princess's well-being, I followed those people. Without giving her a chance to defend for the second time, Bai Xiao throws another punch with his fist, but this time around it was aimed at the nose. He cracked it, causing a stream of blood to come flying out of those two holes. I'm telling the truth. I saw it with my own eyes. Sire, you need to save me from this madman. I know a way to save the princess, she pleads, finally feeling the pain reach her brain for once. Ha ha ha. Bai Xiao couldn't take it anymore and bursts out laughing in an ironic manner. Ling Yan is my sister's daughter. Why would she give my niece away to someone else? Explain that. Come on their own 9. Mu Shui bit her lips. Because those from the celestial palace promised the queen extraordinary benefits. That's why she sold the little princess out to them. If His Majesty doesn't believe me, then you can search the city. I guarantee they won't find the princess anywhere. As long as the little princess is in that place, then these people in the palace will never be able to find her. By then all I need to do is bring the girl back. My sister sold Ling Yan out? That's my sister's biological daughter. How could my sister sell her own daughter? In this world, no one knows Bai Yin better than Bai Xiao. For example, in order to give birth to Xiachen, the woman had to endure incredible pain and suffering, just to make it to the date of birth. Now to be told his sister would sell out just because of some benefits? How laughable. Deetsong's eyes were also growing dangerous, smiling sinisterly. Oh, then are you able to find my daughter for me? Brother-in-law. Bai Xiao swings his head around, those eyes showing incredulous disbelief. Does he really believe this woman? Doesn't he know my sister's personality? Deetsong ignored the face he was getting and continued to stare coldly at Mu Shui. As a result of this, the witch actually mistook this as a sign that she's won and revealed a look of joy along that face. Don't worry, Your Majesty. When I saw the deal between the Queen and the Celestial Palace's spies, I have already ordered my people to go follow the princess from the back. She smugly smirks at no one in particular. After all, I have long taken the princess as my own since the day you wanted to make me your consort. Even if the Queen used her running away to force you to depart for a while, I would never bear to hurt the princess. Boom. But before that smug face could finish all her nonsensical rant, Deetsong's incredible aura had already come pressing down from above. Next thing the witch knew was her own throat being choked by that powerful hand. You want to be my consort? Is that why you keep spouting those rumors? Maj Majesty, panic showing now along the face. I only spoke the truth. You have to believe me. Deetsong openly grunted there. Forget about whether or not this woman had a plan in mind for coming. He himself knows for certain Ling Yan was currently sleeping in her bedchamber. What kidnapped? Ridiculous. Boom. Slamming the lump of meat in his hand down to the ground in a bang. The outraged father didn't hold back as he dished out the appetizer for the impending punishment. You think I wouldn't know my own wife compared to someone like you? Moreover, when have I ever said I wanted a consort? Who told you such nonsense? Sneering in his tone, the man shoots down death glare after death glare. You. Mu Shui appears stunned along the face. Isn't that what you were intending when you picked us out to serve the little princess? How can you determine an unborn baby's gender? Until now, Mu Shui still remains stubborn on her opinion about Deetsong trying to take her as a consort, and that it was Bai Yin who ruined her chance by running away and forcing the king to leave. Able to read the thought coming out of this miserable being that only knows how to greed after what doesn't belong to herself, the Demon King did the only thing he felt was right, and that's to stomp down at her puny body. Instantly, Mu Shui had felt it, the cracking sound of her rib breaking. The pain so strong she promptly broke out in cold sweat. The fact that I'm choosing mates to serve my daughter should have been enough to tell I knew beforehand. Just because you fools can't tell doesn't mean I can't. Come on their own 10. The killing intent coming out of Deetsong has grown even more intense. Speak. Are you the reason my wife left the palace again this time? I will only give you this once chance, so don't even try to lie. As long as you speak the truth, then I will let you keep your body intact. Pursing her lips into a thin white line. I did not lie. The queen really did sell the princess out. PFFF. Those last words didn't even get to finish before Deetsong once again acted. Using his leg this time, he steps down hard at the girl's chest and makes her spray blood up into the air like a fountain from the mouth. Mu Shui's face went bleakly white as she loses all the energy from her body. She simply doesn't understand why this was happening, and why the king wouldn't run off to kill the queen in a fit of rage. Everything was turning out wrong, and away from her plan. Then, as if to answer her question of why, a soft melodic voice suddenly cuts in from the front. Were you talking about me? Stiffly swinging around, Mu Shui could see the one person she dreaded meeting in this moment. Even worse, there's also 2 children with her, one being 7 to 8 years old, the other still a baby wearing a dress. Just that instead of being a girl, the baby was instead a boy that still had baby fat. Gawking her mouth as the mind went white, Mu Shui couldn't begin to process this reality. What's going on? Why is the little prince wearing a dress similar to the princess's? Why is it so similar to the child's clothing back in the cave? Mother! Exactly then another childish cry breaks in. This time around, it's Muing walking inside with a baby girl in her arms. Ling Yan. Bai Xiao also appeared stunned by this twist of event, staring dumbfoundedly at his own niece who toddled over to her mother. What's going on here, sister? Isn't Ling Yin supposed to be missing? And why are the twins cross-dressing? Oblivious to the stir she herself has caused, Ling Yin only wanted to snuggle her head inside Bai Yan's arms. Mother's scent is the best. I prefer mother's hug more. Ling Yin was tired earlier, so I had Muing take her to rest. As for her clothes, I had them changed as well. That said, Bai Yan then casts her eyes downward at the pale-stricken Mu Shui. I didn't think you would be so dumb to bring yourself to us when we were looking for you. I didn't think you would be so dumb to bring yourself to us when we were looking for you. This sentence wouldn't stop echoing in the witch's head, which directly causes her to tremble profusely knowing what it meant. It's intentional. Everything is intentional. She deliberately lured me, so I would fall into her net on my own. In the end, she's worried I will steal the king's favor. That's why she's doing all this. Biting her lower lip, Mu Shui finally came back to her senses. Even now, this wretched witch refuses to admit everything was her own delusion. Come on their own 11. You betrayed me. Mu Shui lashes out after finally noticing the timid-faced maid that's been standing there further in the back. It's pointless to keep acting at this point, because she knows everything has fallen apart. No wonder, now it all makes sense. She betrayed me. This red leaf betrayed me, and sold me out to this woman. Ignoring the glares of immeasurable resentment coming out of her brother's kidnapper, Red Leaf comes forward on her own and bangs that head against the floorboard. Sire, I am a criminal and a sinner. Mu Shui kidnapped my younger brother, and used him to threaten me, forcing me to kidnap the little princess, so that she can have a chance to become your consort. I know my crime cannot be atoned with mere words, but I implore your majesty to save my little brother. He's innocent and have nothing to do with this. I only have him left in my family. The more stressed Red Leaf became, the more the tears came pouring out of those eyes. If at first she didn't know the purpose of Mu Shui wanting to kidnap the little princess, then she definitely knows now after seeing the situation. The witch didn't want to kill the baby girl at all. She wanted to use the child to frame the queen and make the king become enraged. By then Mu Shui would use this opportunity to find a place in the palace and become the next queen, or at minimal a consort. Such a ridiculous plan has no future. Red Leaf could see that. It's a path doomed to failure, and only the most insane and senile would dare pursue. Move aside. Giving this order was none other than Bai Yan, who had finished cuddling her own daughter. The demon guards of course responded right away, which they did by spreading into an open line to allow the family to come forward. Do you know that Ling Yin is my daughter, the princess of the demons? Considering what you've tried to do, me ordering you to be skinned alive and beheaded wouldn't be an outstretch of my authority. The second she said that was when she strikes. Boom. Mu Shui couldn't hold back her screams then, as the incredible level of pressure came crushing down from above the head. Don't think you're all that, Bai Yan. Gritting her trembling teeth, Mu Shui refuses to yield. You're nothing but a human. If not for the fact that you gave birth to 3 of the king's children, he wouldn't even bat an eyelash at you. Practically yelling now like a mad crazy fanatic, you have a heart of poison that's polluted with jealousy. The king only wants a consort, yet you used your belly's unborn baby to threaten him by running away. He's a man, and a man deserves to have multiple wives. It's bad enough you won't find consorts for him, as your duty requires. Now you're interfering with his wish. Bai Xiaqin's determination 1. Looking at Mu Shui's madness-filled eyes, Bai Yan takes over and stops her husband's readying attack. Smirking on the face. If you have anything to say, then go ahead and say it now, because you won't be able to after your execution. Going crazy with bloodshot eyes, the witch refuses to submit and turns to the other demons. You all see this? She is a human. She is doomed to betray us all. In their eyes, we're no more than tools and food to be eaten and used. Do not trust or follow her. She is not qualified to be the queen. The faces of the elders present didn't budge or betray any sign of hesitation. Rather, they're only looking at this soon-to-be dead girl with contempt, stamping down with her feet against Mu Shui's chest to make her shut up. You said I am not qualified to be their queen? Then who is? Breaking out into hysterical laughter, The bloodshot-eyed Mu Shui said the most obvious thing in her mind. Of course I am. If I am the demon queen, then I will help the king take in as many consorts as he wants. I will handle everything in the harem and keep the palace in order. And if he wishes for it, I can also produce as many children as he wants, all more outstanding than the 3 runts you created. I am the perfect queen. PFFF. In a swift flash of cold metallic glint, Mu Shui's foul tongue was sliced off, letting that filthy lump of meat fall to the ground, while the girl herself squirmed in agonizing pain at the lost appendage. Yen, she's too disgusting, I really can't stand it anymore. Song murmurs this from behind like an innocent man-child. He knew his wife wanted to get more info out of this filthy witch, but it's just too much for him. Song couldn't handle the kind of stuff he's hearing, hence his maneuver to silence that mouth. Visit my site on Cat Translation if you wish to read ahead of public releases. As if clapped by thunder, Mu Shui's squirming body froze up like a block of ice. Her eyes only had disbelief and pain left in there, like she doesn't deserve any of this. Why? I have already expressed my feelings to the king, so why is he doing this to me? Batty father. Bai Xiachen inappropriately chimes in with a displeasuring face. This woman said she will make lots of babies with you. Song's face went a shade darker over the jab by his son. Her breed can only produce low IQ kinds. She can never be compared with your mother. It frustrates him why everyone keeps saying he wants to take consorts. He's said it many times already. There's no such thing, so why does he always end up in these situations? First elder. Song hurries to express his unity, grabbed his wife into a hug. You pass on my word. In this life I will only have children with my one and only wife. If anyone dares to have ulterior motives or spread rumors again, their punishment will be the same as this Mu Shui. Complying by cusping his hand. Yes, sire. I will make sure everyone in this city and all of the demons under our influence hear about this lesson. Also, should I go gather the females? Slightly cool still in his voice. Song's face definitely looked better after that. I've said it before, unless it's related to the celestial realm and its attack plans, everything else is to be decided by my wife. So, you should be directing that question to your queen. It's not a bad idea. You can decide on the details first, elder. Bai Yin gives a nod after listening. Bai Xiachen's determination too. Bai Yan's not afraid of trouble. She's had plenty of that over her lifetime. However, she now has a daughter to worry about. As a mother, she doesn't want Ling Yan to be cornered by enemies from every angle. This time she must make an example. Song was of the same opinion and scanned the gathered demons. Back then when I made the announcement, some of you were probably still in the secret domain training. So, I won't punish any of you this time. But now I'm going to repeat it just once and never again. All the demons lowered their heads in compliance. Their ears perked up in order to not miss a single word. Seemingly pleased by the awaiting quietness. The palace will only have my wife the queen. She is the only female you answer to. As for my children, whether it be now or into the future, it will only be between me and her. I promised her one love for one life. There won't be exceptions to my vow to her. Do you all understand? Others may not be able to be loyal to one partner, but he could. Aside from Bai Yin, Song wants no one else. Furthermore, the demon realm has already been given to my wife as part of her bridal gift. The remaining half will be the celestial realm after I conquer it. Everything that once belonged to me now belongs to my wife, your queen. If there's any issue, you should first go to her for clarification. And if there's any argument between me and her, you must heed my wife's order first. Undeniably, Bai Yin felt moved by the speech. She already heard this before, but honestly, she didn't take it too seriously. Now to be brought to the front for all to hear. No woman wouldn't be moved by such a sugary sweet love proclamation. Mu Shui on the other hand didn't fare any better than before. In fact, she's falling into despair. Deeper and deeper, until her whole body squirmed together into a fetal position. One life, one love. Not even father can give mother this vow, let alone be faithful and carry it out. This was it, the witch finally got it. From start to finish, she's been fooling herself. If the king really wants a consort, can the queen really stop him? Even if she used a child to threaten him, wouldn't he be able to produce more with no repercussion? And now, he's giving the entire demon realm to her as a gift? Haha. Chuckling to herself in a self-ridiculing manner, Mu Shui closes her eyes and said nothing more. There's no point. Whatever hope she clung on to has been destroyed. All that's left was for whatever's going to happen. However, that wasn't to say others were just going to let the foolish girl go just like that. Bai Xiachen still had business that's unfinished. Where did you hide Red Leaf's brother? No reply came, only a slight whimpering. I promised her that I would get her brother out. And now you will tell me, where's her brother? If you say then I'll let you meet your end painlessly. Mother said, a man must keep to their promises. And I made a promise to Red Leaf. Then it hit the steam bun as further whimpering came. I forget that you can't open your mouth because you lost your tongue. Alright, use your finger and write the answer using your blood. Mu Shui didn't do as the boy ordered, only turning that head around to meet Red Leaf's gaze. Suddenly, a cold chuckle comes off of this crazy, which is those eyes turned madly sharp. Bai Xiachen's determination 3. Since Red Leaf betrayed me and caused my plan to fail, then there's no reason to not make this woman suffer just like myself. If I go down, then someone else will also go down with me. Thinking up to here, Mu Shui didn't hesitate, and moved her blood-stained fingers to write a line along the ground. I didn't take her brother, I merely killed him. She's not stupid enough to really bring a baggage around. What if that baggage exposes her presence? So, after taking the kid out of the city, she killed the boy, and buried his remains across multiple locations. Looking at the line of blood letters there, Red Leaf instantly went white as the blood drained from the face. You're lying. Throwing herself at the murderer of her only family, Red Leaf kept screaming and tugging at Mu Shui's collar. You're lying to me. I know you hate me for betraying you, but you can't deceive me. My brother isn't dead, he can't be dead. Tell me where he is now. The murderess witch only snarled, showing off her bloody teeth in the process, and conveying her contempt for the other side. I already killed him. Only you are stupid enough to believe me about releasing him afterwards. If you hadn't betrayed me, then I would have sent you along to see your brother by now. Mu Shui writes another line with her own blood. He is dead, and I've scattered his remains across the wilderness. You will never be able to see him again. Afterwards, she started to cackle like a crazy fanatic. Just that instead of actually laughing out, her mouth only made a weird audible gurgle due to the lack of tongue. Red Leaf wanted to pummel the truth out of this girl. But the more she punched Mu Shui, the more she knew it was hopeless. You're lying. You're lying. You must have hidden him. That must be it. Give him back to me, give him back. Muing never showed any reaction from start to end during all this. The only exception was after Mu Shui wrote the bit about killing Red Leaf's brother. According to her own memory, that child has always been kind and smart while they lived at the tribe, a good person all around. It's no wonder Red Leaf would lose her mind like this. How can Mu Shui murder someone so young, and in such a ruthless fashion? Mother! Bai Xiachen also felt the pain inside, gently pursing his own lips. If someone kidnaps Ling Yan and Jin Tian, and then killed them, I'm sure I will also lose my mind like her. That kind of loss would bring unbearable pain. No one should have to endure such misery. Understanding why her son was acting this way, Bai Yin reassures him by rubbing the little head before turning to her own brother Bai Xiao. Yes, Xiachen, I understand her. I wouldn't want to experience what she's going through either. Thank goodness nothing happened to Xiao. Bai Xiao of course understood what his sister meant by that remark. He too wouldn't want such grievance to appear along any of his family's face either. Bai Xiachen's determination 4. After venting her anguish, Red Leaf finally collapsed to the ground, her face sobbing with pain. Initially her quiet weeping only sounded like a whimper, but soon changed to an emotional cry of wanting to change this cruel reality. It's resonating among the crowd because it's too powerful. Yen, let me handle the rest from here. I'm sure you are tired after today's event. Deed Song suggests from one side, not wanting his family to see what's going to happen next. Then turning to the villain of this incident, the Demon King completely loses his warmth that he explicitly saved for his wife. There's only cold hard ruthlessness in those eyes when watching the bruised piece of rag that was Mu Shui right now. Okay. Bai Yin nods after seeing there wasn't much life left in that lump of meat anyways. You lured her here, so you clean up after yourself. I'm taking the kids back to rest, they've been scared enough today. With that, the demon queen turns to her eldest boy who looked pathetically guilty. Originally she still had some harsh words for the steam bun, after he ran away from the city, and attempted that foolhardy plan. But she's his mother. As any mother, they could never be too angry at their own child. Do you understand not to leave the city again? She asks with a lecturing tone. Bai Xiaqin immediately nods in a desperate manner, like he would never make the mistake again. Then take your brother and sister back to their rooms. Muing, you continue to watch over them. I don't want you by their sides at all times. Yes, Your Highness. Muing respectfully complies, never once giving her younger sister a glance. She knows as well as anyone, Mu Shui's fate was her own doing, and couldn't be blamed on anyone else. Xiao, come with me. Bai Yin then gives her own brother a meaningful glance. Bai Xiao didn't know exactly what the conversation was going to be about, but he could mostly guess. So for a split second he hesitated, but was inclined to follow anyways. Their family shouldn't try to keep things hidden. Sire, what about this woman then? First elder points to the weeping sister who still wouldn't stop crying. Shifting his attention to Red Leaf, Ditsong continues to show his cold gaze, but without the hardness. Tell me the details. Trembling over that dominating voice, Red Leaf gradually managed to hold back her tears enough to give the full story. From how her younger brother got kidnapped, then how the steam bun caught her in the act, and of the plan they used in the cave, she said it all. Likewise, Ditsong's complexion grew darker and darker as well. That rascal always did like to win. If he knew the scheme, then he should have come back to tell us instead of acting on his own. Does he really not trust me, his old man, that much? Sire, from my view this is the prince looking out for you. He doesn't want to bother you with such small things, so he did it himself. Within the higher-ups of the demon realm, no one dislikes the prince, so First Elder's first reaction was to defend the rascal kid, afraid the king would punish the boy somehow. Mu Shui's death won. It seems the little rascal has won everyone over while I'm not aware. I might as well make him the king that way if he's so popular. That way the throne is secured. First Elder visibly flinched as his mouth twitched at the jab. It's no secret to this old-timer that Bai Xiaqin doesn't want to rule over the demon realm. Otherwise why else would Ditsong say that? Taking a few steps back. His Highness won't let me go if he finds out I'm the cause. It's not a problem to side with Xiaqin in front of me, but remember who is really in charge of the demon realm right now. Ditsong sourly states this, not willing to lose face despite being a wife slave. Wiping some of the sweat off his forehead, First Elder felt troubled and caught in a bind. Of course, Your Majesty, I will only side with you in the future and not the prince. I will especially side with you when the queen gets involved. However, instead of getting happy and lighting up, Ditsong's mood only grew dimmer. It seems my words never got through to your head. Whether it is Xiaqin or me, everyone must side with my wife when caught in an argument. If my wife says one, then you can't say two. Do you understand? In short, he's allowed to lecture the boy if Bai Yan's not involved. Otherwise they must support whatever the demon queen says if she does. Almost wanting to roll his old eyes at the contradicting order now, First Elder wanted to face-bomb himself. Yes, of course, Your Majesty. Only then did the demon king remove his gaze from the troubled senior. Mu Shui, who's been lifelessly lying on the ground, didn't miss that proclamation, of course. This was equivalent to a second punch in her gut, making the girl puke blood, due to the unwilling frustration she felt. Red Leaf, on the other hand, remained silent to one side. She's also feeling guilty and complex inside. If she had known Bai Yan would be this favored before the king, then the woman would have long come to report Mu Shui's crime and scheme. Now the damage has been, and she could never repair what has been done. Nor could she revive her own dead brother as a result. I'm partly responsible for my little brother's death. I'm at fault too. Understanding this much, the pained older sister closed her eyes and placed all the guilt on herself. However, The cold gaze coming out of Di Tsong instantly brought her back to reality and the situation she was still in. Although you were forced by Mu Shui to do what you did, it doesn't change the fact that you conspired to harm the royal family. For that, I won't forgive you. I understand, Your Majesty. I know what to do. Showing a bitter smile, Red Leaf didn't mind dying today. She's already lost the only family she had left in this world. What point was there to keep living? All right. Di Tsong then shifts his gaze over to the lump of meat nearby. But as an act of mercy from me, I will give you one last chance to get revenge for your family. No matter what you do to this traitor of the leopard tribe, I won't intervene. An inexplicable light burst forward from Red Leaf's eye then. She couldn't stop her body from trembling, because this was exactly what she wanted right now. Before she only beat Mu Shui to a pulp, not go for her life. Now she's gotten permission. The king is willing to give me this chance. Yes, I will make this vile witch pay for what she did to my brother. I will let her know what it means to suffer. Mu Shui's death too. Thank you for gracing me with this opportunity, Your Majesty. Kneeling there, Red Leaf felt genuinely thankful for this chance to exact her suffering on the one responsible. So what if the king doesn't intend to forgive me? I only wanted my brother back when I made the deal with the prince. Now that the goal is gone, this is the best I can ask for. I don't want to live anyways without my younger brother with me. 5 days. I'll give you 5 days to torture her as you please. Afterwards, you are to do the deed on your own. I won't send my subordinates to check on you. After dropping this sentence, Di Tsong didn't turn back and brushed past the lady. Standing up to show a look of pure hatred, Red Leaf didn't get swayed by the implication of that sentence. Di Tsong was saying she could flee afterwards if she liked. But that's a pointless gesture of mercy on his part really, because she had no intention to continue living. Mu Shui, you killed my brother. Why did you kill him? A flash of panic flickered in Mu Shui's eyes. Making a whimpering sound, the witch attempts to crawl backwards as fear takes hold along that face. To be clear, this vile being wasn't afraid of dying at this point. That's the least of her concern. What she's afraid of was not being able to die for the next 5 days. She doesn't even want to begin to imagine the sort of torture that's coming. Graghai. She tries to speak out and beg for mercy, but all that came out was an indistinguishable garble of nonsense from Mu Shui's mouth. But then again, Red Leaf wouldn't have cared either way regardless of what she said. Coming closer and closer, this lady looked dreadfully dark and scary as her expression becomes twisted and evil at the thought of what she could do. It doesn't matter if you can't talk. I still have 5 days. In these 5 days, I will make sure you understand what it means to suffer a horror that's worse than death. I know you will like what I have in store for you. Somewhere else in the palace that much quieter and less rowdy. Sister, is there something else you need to say to me? Bai Xiao eventually couldn't hold back his impatience and asked. Stalling there, Bai Yin slowly turns around. Xiao, do you have anything to tell me? I. Lowering his eyes in a contemplative manner, the boy appears hesitant. Sister, I want to protect you like back when we were in the Luhua kingdom. I want to be your shield like before. Even if I have to pay a much higher price, I don't care. I will protect her. I don't know what you've been through after we separated, but you need to understand, I'm no longer the weak and frail girl from back then. If anyone should be protecting anyone, it should be me protecting you as the older sister. Taking a step forward, Bai Yin grasps onto the young man's shoulder to reveal a firm look along the face. Sister, I will protect myself, I won't make you sad. For you, I will protect myself and not let you endure that kind of suffering like today. Bai Yin knew her persuasion likely wouldn't work, knowing how stubborn this brother of hers could be. Even so, she couldn't just say nothing and not try after what she witnessed. No matter how much this lad grows, he would always be the same kind and warm person that he was back then. Bai Yan's opinion of that would never change. Mu Shui's death 3. Alright, if you don't want to stay then I won't force you. I believe you will one day be able to break free like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. Radiating a glow in those eyes, Bai Yan's tone was firm and strong. Sister. Bai Xiao brings her into a hug, letting his body to show off his emotions right now. In this life am I blessed to be your brother? That comment made the woman go stiff due to how touching it was. Do you still blame me for what I did back then? For not bringing you with me when I left alone? Showing a bittersweet face. You are my most important person in this world. How can I bear to blame you? I never blamed you. I only felt hurt inside for you. You were pregnant, alone and wandering out there by yourself. My only regret is not being able to be there with you during those difficult times. If I had been there, I can at least help protect you and look after you in some way. Pausing to reel in some of the emotions that's quickly swelling out from his eye. Sister, although we had a bad life in the Bai household, but you didn't suffer too much pain under that vile woman's hand. Sure, we couldn't eat well or dress well, but you were always able to avoid any pain. Then, as if remembering the times where it's only the two of them trying hard to make it through each day without starvation, Bai Zhao's voice suddenly firms up. After you left, I was worried sick about you. I kept wondering if you were going to freeze to death, or die of hunger by yourself. I can't even fathom enduring the harshness of the wild by yourself. You were so timid and small, unable to bear any scare. I felt so useless knowing I've allowed you to be placed in that situation. That's right. One of the driving forces behind this young man's desire to grow strong was partially a sense of guilt. He's still unable to get past the fact he couldn't protect Bai Yin back then, and allowed her to go through all those hardships alone. I know you want me to stay with you, but you have too many enemies. What if I become your baggage? What then? I want to stand by your side and become your shield, your protective wing. Not someone that hides behind you and couldn't do anything when the danger comes. Bai Yin couldn't say she wasn't affected by what she's heard. When she moved her jaw to speak, no words came in that moment. Only a momentary silence hanging in the air. But that state didn't last long once she realizes her own awkward state. Shower this life. I owe you too much. You do not owe me anything, sister. I didn't know better back then. But after learning the details of why you ran, I knew you didn't have a choice. You were barely able to escape on your own. How could you come back to retrieve me when the situation was so critical? Bai Xiao was no fool, he's very smart and intelligent. If Bai Yin did return after escaping at first, then those people would have placed a net around the estate and recaptured his sister that night. Shower, thank you. She raises her hand and brought her younger brother into a heavy hug. Thank you for staying with me. No matter if we're poor or rich, I will never abandon you. Smiling at those words, Bai Xiao felt the same. Sister, sometimes I really wonder if I'm indebted to you in my previous life or something. That's why fate is pushing me to use this life to stay by you and always stand with you. For you, I will forsake the world one. All right. I'll wait for you to come back. No matter when that is, this will always be your home. Bai Yin says, her eyes longing and hopeful. As long as the place has me, it will always be your home. In a cloud-covered valley some distance away, Chui Feng was standing there with a gloom across his face, while confronting someone that's of similar appearance. This individual had a similar air, but was more surreal and indifferent to the things around him. That stranger was Chui God, a man that has time and time again saved Bai Yin in the past. You stay away from Yin'er and her son. The young lord of the Holy Land demands with a tone that's lacking in temperature. The man opposite of him smiled. Don't forget why you exist in this world. You're not qualified to interfere with my business. Making a crunching sound as his fist clenched into a ball, Chui Feng clearly appeared frustrated. Yin'er is someone I will protect with my life. I won't allow anyone to hurt her, even you. Apparently that proclamation had a stinging effect on Chui God, which made his expression grow faintly sad from the surface. If back then I was as firm as you, would she have left me? Unfortunately, he made a mistake, a huge one at that, causing him to lose the one woman he loves. I know you are aware of a lot of things already, but she doesn't remember anything still. When she does though, she will undoubtedly hate me and blame you. Chui God's expression suddenly grows heavier. Even so, are you still going to stand by her like always? You are you, I am I, don't compare me with you. Chui Feng's voice sounded borderline apathetic there. Perhaps only matters related to Bai Yin would be able to stir the feelings inside this man. Everything simply doesn't rouse a reaction, the young lord of the Holy Land. You should know that we are. Shut up. Not waiting for Chewy God to finish his sentence, the younger one cuts him off. What you do has nothing to do with me. Yenner is the one I've chosen to protect with my all. You and I are not the same. This person would forsake Yenner for the world, while I will forsake the world for her. Chewy God is not me, and I will never be him. Not getting angry at all, the Celestial Lord actually smiled there. I hope you can be like that and never change in your decision. The mistake I made can never be redeemed, so I hope you won't go down the same path I did. Chewy Feng openly sneered at the slightest hint of that possibility. You care about too many people. The Celestial Palace, the world, and those that you don't even know. You forsake her for them. Know this, I won't do that. I won't go down that path, so you can rest on that idea. What does the survival of this world have to do with me? As long as Yenner can live a safe and happy life, they mean nothing. For you, I will forsake the world too. Is this all you have to say after coming to find me? After a long silence, Chewy God once again spoke, his appearance returning to the indifferent attitude he has towards the world. I only want an answer to one question. Why did you deceive Yenner? Why did you put Xiachen and her in danger? You know the Sky Fox's blood can't remove that darkness in the boy. Smiling bitterly along the face now, the Celestial Lord almost appeared emotional there for a split second. I did it for her sake. That grudge inside the boy is too heavy. Sooner or later it will undoubtedly harm her. Not to mention it's the only way to allow Xiachen to grow faster. Only when the boy grows stronger will he be able to protect her safety. Boom! Chewy Feng disappears in a flash, reappearing directly behind his counterpart in the next. However, instead of actually making contact with his attack, the surreal and indifferent Celestial Lord disappears from the spot, only to come back into existence atop of a hilly cliff not far away. You're not my match, so let's stop this. Chewy God says with a hint of humor. Stopping in his action, Chewy Feng snapped back. If you really care for Yenner, then you should be discussing things with her, not deceiving her. Do you know how much you will hurt her this way? Yenner is good in many ways, but she's too emotional when doing things. I don't want her to experience danger, the Celestial Lord counters. He also knew lying to Bai Yen would make her hate him, but the man would rather she hate him than allow her to be in danger. So for the one person he cares about in this whole wide world, Chewy God would rather she hate him if that's a must. Chewy Feng's face grew increasingly colder after hearing that, raising up a storm around himself in the process. Not deceiving her is being respectful. It's no wonder she abandoned you in the previous life. On this point alone, Deetsong was superior to Chi God. At the very least, the Demon King respects the opposite sex and listens to their demands, while this supposed savior of the celestial realm wouldn't show an ounce of respect to those he cares for. The Celestial Lord's perennially indifferent and cold face finally cracked under that insult. Showing an almost angered expression, his eyes grew hard. I don't need you telling me what I did wrong. I know I wronged her. That's why she left me. Otherwise, we would have been married a long time ago. Closing his eyes, Chewy God's expression showed pain and regretful look. It was I who pushed her away. And it was I who nearly destroyed her. Even without that event, she still wouldn't have married you. You're not just a little bit inferior to Deetsong, but a lot more. The implication of that was Bai Yen would never be his even without that incident. Sure enough, Chewy God felt like his heart's been pierced by multiple swords in that moment, causing him to bleed in pain at the soul level. He knows what Chewy Feng said there was the truth. It's just that he's never been able to admit to that fact until now, when his counterpart finally poked through the thin layer of bubble he's been hiding behind. Back then Bai Yen was always well-behaved and sensible. Only before Deetsong did she ever act out and show her true personality. For that reason alone, Chewy God knew the relationship between the two weren't the same as his own. It's very special, to the point where he, the ruler of the celestial realm, had to resort to trickery of a young lady for marriage. For you, I will forsake the world. 3. You don't have to continue. Somewhat pale along the face now after having all his greatest sins brought to the open, Chewy God reveals a saddened face. She hates me to the bone, so of course she won't accept me. However, you can't marry her either. After all, we are in essence the same person. Chewy Feng's attitude got even colder once the topic got shifted to the one thing he hated about his own existence. I already said it. I'm not you. I will give her respect that she deserves. Unlike you who only looks to her as an object to be used to your own liking. As long as she's happy, then I'm willing to accompany her as a brother for the rest of her life. Can you do that? A visible tremor shook the celestial lord in that moment. Can I do that? Huh. If I could do that in the past, then she might not have left me for him. She wouldn't have been forced away by me, nor would her fate end up so miserable because of I. She's suffered so much, and now she's finally gotten happiness. I won't let anyone destroy that. Not you and not those who wish her harm. If you dare hurt her and try in any manner that I can find. Growing firm across the face, the young lord of the Holy Land sounded tenaciously scary then. Something he's never done in his entire life. I will suicide with you if I must. He owed her for the previous life, so he must use this one to repay that debt, even if that means the exhaustion of this one. For a while, the celestial lord actually fell into a momentary trance under Chewy Feng's unquestionable glare. Would she have changed her mind and be with me if I was as firm as he was? You better watch yourself and not let me find you near her again. Chewy Feng gives a final warning before turning away. To this new incarnation of the same person, the newer one found his former self absolutely repulsive. Merely being here for this long was a test of endurance already, because it reminds of him all the things that happened in the past. Not long after the young man left, another presence appears, causing the celestial lord to frown even further across the face. Lord, calling out was Keeper Ling, who had just arrived on the scene. His old eyes were full of excitement. I finally found you. Are my orders pointless to you people? Who allowed you to move again, Yenner? Showing a frown as well now. Lord, this is not our decision. We're also without choice in this matter. The demon realm has attacked us and our people. Do you really want the entire celestial realm overturned because of one woman? Letting the frown fade away, Chewy God returns to the surreal temperament that he always carried. So what? This is what the world owes her. Shocked with surprise along his old face, the grumpy-tempered keeper almost couldn't believe his own ears. Is this the same celestial lord from back then? The one from back then would never say something do so damnable. For you, I will forsake the world for. Lord, said the grumpy keeper with a hint of hesitation, there's something I need to ask of you for my coming. Speak it then, don't waste my time. Sounding impatient, Chewy God unkindly orders. The matter is like this. Ruashi's body has been injured for many years, so we've been searching for a way to help treat her. Now we've found it. Oh, that's a good thing. I have no objection, so you can go ahead with the idea. Why are you reporting this to me? Chewy God speaks in a way that it's confounding to even bring up the subject with him. Keeper Ling visibly gawked like it's ridiculous to hear that sort of reply. What's wrong with the Lord? How can he react so wantonly? Ruashi's treatment should be the utmost importance right now with the calamity drawing so close. Let me explain, Lord. If we want to treat Ruashi's injury from back then, we will need your help. Keeper Ling's expression then turned a darker shade of hostility. We need the blood of a fox, a young one, and a female one at that. Only the purest of the foxes can it work. If only the grumpy keeper paid a little more attention to the foe opposite to himself, then he would definitely realize the sharpening gaze around Chewy God's face. You mean you want me to go to the demon realm and demand Yenner's child? Just like 1,000 years ago? 1,000 years ago, I personally went out to capture Bai Yen, and then thrust her into the depths of hell by burning her at the altar. I committed the greatest sin, a sin so great I could never hope to redeem. Now these people want me to repeat that same crime, and hurt the one woman I love a second time? Ha ha ha. Unable to pick up the underlying tone there, Keeper Ling continues with respect in his voice. Yes, Lord. We are hoping you can personally go make a demand to Bai Yen, and have her hand over a daughter. As long as Di Tsong and Bai Yen cooperates with our plan, We in the Celestial Palace are willing to spare the demon realm after the calamity comes to pass. In that second, Chewy God actually chuckled satirically. Do you also want the demon realm to be grateful to you as well for sparing them? This time not even the dense Keeper Ling could miss the taunting attitude from the other side. Showing a puzzled look along his old face, Lord, 1,000 years ago I thought the celestial realm and its denizens are the most important to me. But I discovered that's not true. In this world, the most important thing to me is her. Only after she left me did I realize that fact. She could have been my wife, but I pushed her into the belly of despair with my own 2 hands to allow someone else to yank her back out. For that mistake I lost her forever. Pausing to meet the old keeper's gaze, Chewy God appeared self-mocking now. I couldn't accept it back then. She was supposed to be mine, but I gave her away to someone else with my own action. Then I went after her out of my own selfish greed, pursued her and hunted her, until I pushed her to death. Finally closing his eyes, the Celestial Lord recalls back to the scene where he saw her die in the arms of his love rival. Only then did the pain he felt in that moment come surging forward. It's stinging like a sharp thorn that continues to constrict around his heart at all times. Her child is her life, and if I kill her child then it would be me killing her a second time. You expect me to commit that same mistake a second time? Is that what you are asking of me? For the first time ever, Keeper Ling finally got a clearer look at the Celestial Lord, and what has become of a man that once held the world in the highest regard. He's no longer the Lord. This person, he's not the Chewy God from a millennium ago. But Lord, are you going to abandon the rest of the world for the sake of a single woman? How can you do that? Shaking across his shoulder, due to the surging frustrated anger inside, Keeper Ling couldn't keep his calm, and yelled out the question. 1,000 years ago I gave her up for the sake of the celestial realm. Now I will forsake the world for her. She will never suffer at my hands again. The Celestial Lord states this with firmness along that faint smile. The proud little glutton won. That outlandish and incredible proclamation from Chewy God absolutely horrified Keeper Ling. Every word from the mouth was like a hammer, pounding away at the old elder's heart, until it became a messy mush. Celestial Lord, your words are too irresponsible. Do you think the life of all inside the celestial realm is nothing or something? Losing all the respect he had in the past, Keeper Ling yells out his words while making a crunching sound with his fist. What's more, Ruashi waited 1,000 years for you, yet you keep hurting her heart by leaving her behind. That finally drew a frown across the Celestial Lord's face. One day you will understand what you are missing. Ruashi is an amazing lady, far kinder than that ruthless Bai Yen. This world needs such a kind person, and you will one day regret your decision of not picking her over someone so vile. In fact, Keeper Ling found it absolutely abhorrent to even compare the two. One was heaven and pristine, the other vile and disgusting to the core. Keeper Ling, if you find Ruashi to be so amazing, then why don't you marry her? That way she will have someone. Chewy God did not argue, only giving this indifferent suggestion that left the old-timer crushed, trembling across the shoulder like a rabid animal. What are you implying by that, Celestial Lord? Since you find her to be the most amazing female in this world, and that it will be my greatest regret for not choosing her, then why don't you marry her then? Though the age gap difference between you and her is a bit large, but I'm sure it won't be an issue. I believe Roshi wouldn't mind. Though the Celestial Lord said it with such a frank smile, his tone couldn't be mistaken. It's cold and mocking. Trembling even harder now along the shoulders, you don't forget who it was that pushed you up into that position. Just because your wings have grown harder, you're now ignoring us who supported you? Obedience and respect goes both ways. If Chewy God wouldn't help them and be useful to the Celestial Palace, then Keeper Ling had no reason to continue this relationship with the other man. Heck, if Yin Ruashi still had the ability to grow, this grumpy keeper would have likely turned his back on Chewy God years ago. Why would he bother with someone that's deserted them for a millennium? Huffing a faint grunt, the Celestial Lord said the one thing he wanted to say for a long time now. Then we are of the same mind. I regret ever taking up this position as the Celestial Lord. That way I wouldn't have had to shoulder such heavy responsibilities and hurt my most important person. You. Keeper Ling flew into a rage and pointed accusingly at the other man. You only lost a single woman, a vile and wretched one at that. How can you desert the rest of the world for the sake of someone so undeserving? That reprimand drew a narrowed look from Chewy God. That's right, it's a woman that caused me to lose my sanity. You'll never understand the pain I suffered because of what I did back then. As for why I left the Celestial Palace and kept a grudge against you all, do you really not know, or are you just acting ignorant, Keeper Ling? The proud little glutton too. Chewy God slowly approached the grumpy keeper. What did you promise me first? You clearly said you will only imprison her if I help secure the safety of the celestial realm. I believed you and moved against my one and only love, but you went after her life. Does these people really not understand why I resent them? How ridiculous. They actually think I will still help them deal with Yenner. Showing an ironic smile aimed at no one but himself, Chewy God shakes his own head to remove some of the bitterness in his heart. I got the world in my mind, that's true, but I would never want her to die for that. Even if it's a life of imprisonment or a loss of memory, it's still better than what happened back then. Keeper Ling couldn't utter a word under that blaming gaze. It's true, they did lie to their liege, just that they never thought his feelings for her would go that deep, so they never thought anything of it. Celestial Lord, fumbling for a word, the old grumpy elder instinctively takes a step back at that forceful stare. I had no other choice back then. By Yan's existence. Her existence will endanger the entire celestial realm. Only when she's dead will I be at ease. Openly sneering at the shamelessness of this old man, Chewy God loses usual cool air and becomes more humanistic. It's pointless to keep talking. I will not help you hurt her. And if you push me, I might do something you will regret. Shock and fear gripped Keeper Ling like a haunted ghost would when strangling its victim. He couldn't accept this. It's one thing to be unable to get the Celestial Lord's help, but to be threatened with retaliation if they moved against Bai Yen was unimaginable. After a long while of this awkward silence, the old-timer knew he was finished here. Turning around, he ran for the bottom of this mountain, without looking back like someone that was fleeing. Unbeknownst to the grumpy keeper though, Chewy God wasn't entirely unaffected by what he himself said there. In fact, the Celestial Lord's expression would grow heavier at each step, until a bitter and helpless smile took hold. I won't make the same mistake again, I won't. It was that one wrong step that ruined my happiness. I can't let it happen again, not like that. Haha. I will forsake the world if I must, if it means you can gain happiness, Yenner. I will never make that stupid blunder. Not unless my soul be thrust into the depths of hell and burned for all eternity. Slowly but surely, Chewy God's small murmuring laugh evolves into a hysterical fit that made him lose all of the surreal air that should be unique to this man. But I won't give up on you, not this time. Whatever happiness Deetsong can give you, I can too. I'm going to pursue you again, and I won't fail you, not ever again. In the end, the Celestial Lord still believes he has a chance to win over Bai Yan's heart. In light of all he's done, in light of him indirectly murdering Bai Yan, in light of him causing her child's death, he still believes he has a chance. If this wasn't selfish greed, then what was? The proud little glutton 3. At the same time outside the demon city, a black figure had just arrived outside the main gates to the settlement when the defending soldiers noticed this unexpected guest. Hold! Identity yourself. I heard the demon city is recruiting demunkins. I'm here to join at the news. Hoarse in his voice, the black-robed stranger answers without delay. This causes a series of looks between the defenders. Even so, this wasn't nearly enough to warrant free passage into the city. Cocking up a brow warily, one of the more outspoken soldiers steps forward. Before you enter the city, we must confirm you are who you say. Stay there while we conduct the examination. Unlike other places, the demon city are indeed willing to shelter demons that are weak and helpless. But that doesn't mean they would just let in any random individual who decides to stroll onto their premise. Slightly displeased in his voice now, the black figure promptly inquires for more details. How long will the review take? You can't expect me to stand around without limit, right? That depends entirely on you. First revert back to your true form, and let us have a look to confirm your background. The demon guard states, his voice getting all unfriendly due to the retort. The demand wasn't unreasonable, so the stranger didn't offer any resistance. Taking a step back, he becomes enveloped in a globe of black light, before taking on a form of a huge black bird that resembled more of a dinosaur than an actual feathered bird. You are a Pteroraptor crow? The exclaiming demon soldier gawks, his eyes popping out. Of the many bird branches out there, the Pteroraptor crow family was thought to be long extinct. To be meeting one today definitely left the defenders shocked and surprised. I must report this to the king. If this guy's identity turns out fine, then it will be a huge boon to our forces. Reverting back to his human form. Is there any more questions? You are indeed a demon like us and not a human imposter. The guard nods. What's your name? Winger. Winga. I need to first report your arrival to the king, and then have him decide on your placement. Come back in 3 days, you will have your answer then. That said, the outspoken demon soldier arches his fist in respect, losing any of the unfriendly tone he had earlier. Thanks. Faintly nodding, Winger had no objection to this idea, and turned away. Boss, do we really need to make the examination this rigorous and tedious? That person is definitely one of us. And I don't believe our kind would ever want to work with the enemies from the celestial realm. This is not my decision. I can't help it either, because the king personally passed this order down. Did you forget what happened with the prince before? We allowed his highness to leave on his own, and that angered his majesty a lot. If we make another mistake, then I fear our necks would be on the chopping blocks. You have no idea how much the king loves the queen, and how much the queen loves the prince. The prince. Winger stops again after overhearing their conversation. The proud little glutton for Ruashi said so. If the demon realm has a little princess, then she wouldn't be allowed to live. But if they only have a prince, then he won't have to kill an innocent child. That's why Winger felt so relieved to hear the news that Bai Yen gave birth to a son. The demon soldiers naturally didn't know what was running through Winger's head, of course. After the stranger left, one of them hurried to the palace to make this report. But because Deetsong wasn't around at the time, the messenger could only forward the news to First Elder, who was next in charge. Unexpectedly though, Dragon Flame had been walking through this area, and caught sight of the happy-looking soldier, thus allowing him to intercept the message as well. What did you say? A member of the Pteroraptor crow family? Dragon Flame asks with a hint of surprise. Lord Dragon Flame, he is indeed a Pteroraptor crow. I can recognize him through what I've seen in the ancient books. There is no mistake. A sense of joy filled the old goat's face then. Are you sure there's no mistake? Fine, take me to him now. I want to meet his boy. His family's elder, and I used to have a good relationship. To think that old boy still had some descendants around. What a wonderful news. This. The guard grew hesitant in his voice. Lord Dragon Flame, I'm afraid that won't be possible. That person already left because I told him to come back in 3 days. Frowning along his old face. All right. I will wait for him at the main gates then in 3 days. If any of you see him again, then you must come find me. I need to confirm his identity myself. If he really is who he claims, then I must have him stay here with me. Unlike some of the inferior demon races that roam this world today, the dragons and Pteroraptor crow family are both special in a way that they are duty-bound to protect the demon king. Shame though, Dragon Flame was doomed to not meet Winger. The assassin's purpose in coming was to confirm if Bai Yen gave birth to a prince or princess. Now that he's made sure it's a boy, he had no other purpose in returning, and left confidently. But that wasn't to say this matter would go unnoticed. Bai Yen did eventually learn of Winger's arrival, and her initial reaction was a flash of stupor along the face. She's trying to remember something, an incident far into the past, but that flicker of memory couldn't be caught, and escaped her like a fleeting image. Mother. The little glutton climbs up from the stool next to the lady and wrapped himself around her tummy to get a good hug in. You did not go with your big brother and sister to play? Bai Yin asks with a motherly smile, hanging that little head like he's been wronged. Mother, am I not cute, or did I do something bad? Why do you ask this question? Of course my Jean Tian is lovely and good. Raising his head to meet his gaze with hers. Then why do big brother always treat Ling Yin better? He carries her when she's tired, feed her when she's hungry, and gives her a kiss when she asks for one? The proud little glutton 5. That's why Jean Tian felt so unhappy right now. He's finding it unfair Bai Xiachen would always cuddle his sister, while not cuddling him too. Bai Yin breaks out into a giggle. My precious Jean Tian really have grown up. You know how to be jealous of your own sister. Xiachen doesn't dislike you. He only thinks that you should be more independent since you're a boy. He also loves you just as much as your sister. Really? The little glutton tilts his head to the side in an innocent manner. Big brother said he will teach me how to fight when I'm 3. But I want to learn now. I want to protect mother and sister. All right, I'll speak to Xiachen about this and have him teach you earlier. Slightly humored by her boy's behavior. Ling Yin is your sister, so your responsibility is the same as your older brother. You must protect her. The little glutton nodded his head in heavy strides. Big brother said I am a man, so I will protect my sister. Any boy who wants to abduct my sister will feel the pain of me breaking their legs. In saying so, Jean Tian's expression grew incredibly proud, which in kind only causes his mother to get black lines running across her face. Who taught you that? Big brother did. He said all boys that want to get close to Ling Yin are coming with bad intention, so I must break their legs. They will swindle her away. His family's Ling Yin is so lovely, so there must be a lot of bad people who wants to kidnap her. I must be strong and powerful. Only then can I protect her from anyone who wants to take advantage. Twitching along the mouth, Bai Yin wanted to face-bomb herself. What did Xiachen teach his brother? How did Jean Tian become so possessive and violent? You can't think like that, Jean Tian. Your sister Ling Yin will need to marry someday. You only need to pay closer attention when observing. Bai Yan's very much willing to care for her daughter for a lifetime, but that doesn't mean she doesn't want the girl to find happiness. What is marry? Can I eat it? The little glutton asks this with a clueless and naive face. Knowing her words are too mature for the baby, Bai Yin lifts the child up to her lap for explanation. Marriage is when a woman and man makes a vow to share their future together. Just like me and your father, your sister will one day need to find her lifelong partner and follow him. Biting his little finger. But big brother and I will love and care for her too. Why do Ling Yin have to leave and follow someone else? Mother, I don't want Ling Yin to leave us. Perhaps the thought of his twin sister leaving him had roused some unwanted emotions, but Jean Tian's eyes had started to swell red from anxiousness and made him get all teary. But right before Bai Yan could soothe her baby and explain some more, Bai Yan's attention was suddenly dragged away by the frantic-looking steam bun that barged into the room. Mother, mother! Bai Xiachen cries out, his face anxious and hurried. The proud little glutton 6. What's wrong, Xiachen? Bai Yin quickly asks after seeing how pale her boy was looking. I don't know, mother. The steam bun grips his own clothes around the chest area. Just now I felt a sense of panic within my heart. I'm afraid something might have happened to those I know. Maybe Dragoni? Or Little Rice or Tsingy. Little Rice and Tsingy should have been back by now. Did something happen while they were outside? And Dragoni? Although to Bai Xiachen the girl wasn't his biological family, but the boy already felt like she's a member of his family from an emotional standpoint. Now imagining Dragoni being in danger was something he couldn't even begin to fathom. Little Rice and Tsingy should be alright, don't worry about them. If they were, I would have felt it by now. But then this idea brought on another issue, which causes Bai Yin to furrow up the brow. If those two aren't in trouble, then what about Dragoni? As for Dragoni, I had some of the more elite soldiers under your father to tail her. If anything happens then your father should know by now. Okay. The steam bun nodded, his hands still clenching tightly due to the unease. Mother, I don't want Dragoni to be in any accident. Don't worry, she'll be all right. Letting her brow loosen up to not worry her son, Bai Yin warmly brings him into a hug to reassure him. Then turning to his younger son, Jin Tian, go find your sister and play while me and your older brother find your father. Fawning with light in his eyes, the little glutton gets all innocent and lovely in the face over what he's going to say next. Can I go to the kitchen and get some food? Even though he ate not long ago, it doesn't change the fact that he's hungry again. Go ahead, but don't eat too much or you will get a tummy ache again. Alright, let's go, Xiachen. That said, the woman herself also felt a sense of unease now and hurried to bring her eldest son along for the outside. Jin Tian, on the other hand, wasn't as urgent to run off to play though. Rubbing the back of his head, the little glutton only appeared a little bit off. Who is Dragoni? Is it someone else's sister that Big Brother wants to abduct? The more he thought, the more reasonable this little glutton found the theory to be so. I didn't think Big Brother is that kind of person. He is actually into abducting someone else's sister. What if the other family's Big Brother comes knocking at our door? They will break his leg. Due to all the misguided information by Xiachen himself sewed into the little baby, which was akin to brainwashing, it would be quite some years before the little glutton stopped having that image of his own idol. No, I can't stand by and watch Big Brother have his leg be broken. I must advise him to turn a new leaf and not ruin someone else's family's sister. Pumping his fist up into the air like a hero, the little glutton vows to himself. The word ruin was something Bai Xiachen himself taught the baby. To think it would be turned and used on himself one day. If the older boy learned of this, then he would surely ignore the little glutton for a month at least. Bai Yen and her eldest had only finished coming out of their courtyard when the man whom they are looking for arrived on his own. Yen, this is perfect. I was going to find you but didn't know you were coming on your own. This sent the woman into an alarmed state. Tensing up in the hands. Tell me the truth, did something happen to Dragoni? Don't worry, I can handle it. It's like this. Deetsong's voice sounded half hesitant as well. Dragoni is missing. The people I sent to protect her is also missing, and I can't contact them anymore. I don't know what happened to her. Dragoni's missing one. Bai Yan's lip quivered over the terrible news. You say Dragoni is missing? How did she go missing? Deetsong, tell me now which is the place. Deetsong's complexion also grew gloomy at the pressing inquiry. I also don't know the full details. The last location I know she was in was at the Holy Dragon Mountain. Holy Dragon Mountain? Tensing up along the hand, Bai Yan grew firm and hard along the face. Deetsong, me and Xiachen are going to that place. The peculiarity of that statement didn't escape the husband's ear. She specifically mentioned herself and the boy only, never him. Immediately, Deetsong got all possessive and wrapped his arms around her dress. I'll go with you too. You should understand by now, Deetsong, that we need someone here to guard against the Celestial Palace's attack. What if they invade while you are not around? Who will protect our daughter then? Stay here, that's final. But Yin, I can't be at ease if you leave on your own. Dragoni isn't the only one missing. The elite guards I sent to tail her is also missing. An incident that can put them in danger can't be simple. I don't want you to face such peril. Truthfully speaking, Dragoni wasn't exactly the most favorite person in Deetsong's roster of people he knew. He cares for Bai Yan, that's an absolute truth. However, a goddaughter to this demon king doesn't equate to putting his beloved wife in exceptional danger. I can't just leave Dragoni's fate alone. Bai Yan reaffirms her decision, getting all huffy and emotional as well. I don't know the reasoning myself, but I've liked the girl since the first time I laid eyes on her. Otherwise I wouldn't have kept her around to begin with. I know you are worried about me, but I am also worried about her. No matter the danger that's ahead of the journey, I must go. Deetsong got all silent because he knew arguing here won't win him the fight today. Using his slender finger to caress through her hair. Those seductive eyes looked like they could see through the beyond by gazing into the woman's own. Fine, but you must keep Xiachen by your side at all times. You hear me, boy? You are a man of the family. You must protect your mother while I'm not around. When speaking the word man towards his own son, Song made sure to put extra emphasis on it to pass on the trust he had. Don't worry, Batty father. I am a man now. I will definitely keep mother safe from any harm. Making a faint chuckle at the good reply, Song now appeared proud. That's my son. That's how a man of the D family should be. Bai Yin naturally felt relieved at the go-ahead from her own man. She was honestly starting to worry this possessive demon king would really force his way and bring all the children along. That would be far more disastrous than just going by herself, or with Xiachen along. Dragonis missing too. Also, flicking his hand open after moving closer to his wife's face. Take this, it's something I recently came across by chance. This jade necklace will help keep you safe from a fatal blow for one time. If you keep it on you, then I can be at ease. He didn't lie about this item falling into his laps a few days ago. But there's more than just one use for it. Of course, Song wouldn't tell his wife what the other use was lest he wants a good beating. First Elder knew this though. He's been watching from the sideline the entire time, and wanted to speak up to inform the Demon Queen, however. He ended up saying nothing after a brief thought. What's the point? This was a husband's way of protecting his own wife. He as an outsider shouldn't interfere. Bai Yin didn't resist as her man placed the jade necklace around her neck. Then as if to reward the Demon King for his good behavior and obedience, the woman actually tiptoed her feet and kissed him along the lips. This should have been a picturesque scene that would wow the world. But not everyone was happy right now here. Bai Xiachen was rather displeased as he puckered his little lips. Oh, what to do? I also want to give mother a kiss along the cheek. But Batty father won't let me go if I do that. I'll be back soon, Song. Removing her lips from his, Bai Yin turns away for her eldest. Come Xiachen, we're going. Together, one child and one woman, the pair left the palace without delay. Unfortunately, there are many others who doesn't want them to leave. For one, the crazy old coot was one of them. Before they could even make it out of the palace grounds, the old grandpapa had come running over, while flailing his hands in the air. Precious granddaughter, where are you going? I'll come with you. Pausing in her steps, Bai Yin muses over her options before replying. Grandpapa, can you do one thing for me? Rubbing the back of his head, the old coot makes a puzzled face. I'm going out with Xiachen, so I want you to keep an eye on my twins while we're not around. The strength of the celestial palace mustn't be underestimated. If there's only mooing around, then it's not a guarantee her children would be safe. Now that's where her grandpapa would be able to help. As for Song, he has a lot of things to oversee. The person wouldn't be able to keep a tab on the children at every moment of the day. Okay. Clapping his hands as he laughed aloud. Little Ling Yin and Jean Tian are both so cute and good, just like you back then. However, where are you taking Xiachen? Can't you take me as well? At the end of the day, the old coot would rather be with Bai Yin than to stay here regardless of how fond he was of the kids. Shaking her head, the woman knew she had to do some persuasion here. I can't be at ease with my daughter being left alone. Also, aside from you and Song, I can't leave my children in other people's care. In other words, she only trusts her husband and this grandpapa the most and wouldn't entrust the twins to anyone else. Which was true and not a lie. Laughing with joy now at the given responsibility. Precious granddaughter, you don't have to worry. I will make sure the babies are well protected. The old coot then went ahead to pat his chest in a reassuring manner. I won't let those bad people anywhere near them. Dragonis missing 3. But the old coot's smile disappeared again, his eyes wide with pleading. Can you come back quickly? Considering how cautious his tone was, Bai Yin could already see the miserable picture the other person would make once she's gone. Closing her eyes in aching pain over what she's trying to do, she eventually came to terms and spoke up. Grandpapa, I'll be back very soon. Wait here for me, okay? The old coot nodded heavily. I will be good, so you can't lie to me. Cross our pinkies? Okay, pinky swear. Once I find Dragoni, I'll return right away. Showing a dazzling smile, Bai Yin went ahead to hook her pinky around the elders to seal the deal. Great grandpapa, goodbye. Bai Xiachen waves his hand in the air as he and his mother departed for good, which only made the old coot even more pitiful in the background. For a while, only the lonely figure of an old man stood at the palace doors, not moving and not going anywhere until the sun set for the night. The Holy Dragon Mountain was located very far from the demon city, therefore it took quite some time before Bai Yan and the steam bun arrived at the base of this place. Even worse, there's someone blocking the road up ahead. Mother, Bai Xiachen murmurs, his hand getting uncomfortably tense as he grabbed onto his mother's sleeve. It's this woman who tried to hurt me in Dragony before. She's the one responsible for sending us down into that underground world. Bai Yan didn't need to be reminded of this, because she already knew who the other side was. Though their encounter was brief back then, it's more than enough to firmly engrave the vile deceiver into her mind. You're really alive. A complex look comes off of Ruoxi's face. There's resentment, hatred, and hostility. You should be reunited with the Demon King now. Why are you coming back again? Isn't it enough for you to have one man? Why are you coming back to steal the Celestial Lord from me? The way this vile woman said it sounded like she's very disappointed, and that the other side chose the most foolish and disgusting choice possible. Bai Yan already had a negative view of this woman to begin with, but her words only made her even more irritate. Then that's when her gaze landed on the crescent moon amulet around the neck. Immediately, a series of fragmented memories came swarming back to her mind. It's a picture of two young girls to be precise. They were inside a dense jungle. One had an amulet in hand, and was giving it as a gift to the other girl who was called Ruoxi. This amulet, it looks familiar. You're called Yun Ruoxi, correct? Showing a dominating smile, Bai Yan asks with force in her voice. If my memories serve me right, that amulet should be mine. Am I right on that as well? One could literally see the horror coming out of the imposter's face. It couldn't be helped. For Ruoxi and all that she held right now in her life, it's all derived from this crescent moon amulet. Without it, she's nothing. She's not the supposed savior of the celestial realm. She's not the most important woman in this world. She's nothing. Dragony's missing for. What are you talking about? Yun Ruoxi forces a smile to hide her inner guilt. Oh, I forgot you don't remember, because you reincarnated. How can you remember the past? I bet you mistook this amulet as yours, because of the fragments in your head. I'll tell you this clearly so you can stop wondering about it. This amulet is mine to begin with. Then you cheated it off my hands for a while before I eventually got it back. Is that right? Bai Yan's smile deepens. But it's just a trinket. Why are you acting so nervous for? Can it be the amulet has some other uses you're trying to hide? Almost like a jerk reaction, Yun Ruoxi clenches the amulet around her neck and made a vigilant look across to the other side. This amulet is something my parents left me. Of course it means a lot to me. But enough, we're not here to speak about my possessions. You've got deed song already. Why are you coming out of the demon realm to pester the celestial lord? Regarding the story of Keeper Ling being shoved away by Chewy God has already been passed on to the woman's ear, so she's well aware of the situation and what happened. Haha, would you rather lose the world than lose her? When did Bai Yan hold such an importance position within his heart? How can he give up on the world for a mere single woman? I don't know this celestial lord you're talking about, and my one and only husband is Deed Song. In my heart, there can only be one person. As Bai Yan presses forward, her hand had already summoned out her God Slayer for battle. Sarcastic in her tone now. You are not going out of your way to pester him, but your existence is causing him to not forget you. Isn't it enough to have the demon realm in your palm already? Why do you keep coming to the celestial realm and show up in front of him? If it wasn't for this woman's temptation and seduction of the celestial lord, would he keep her in his heart for a millennium? Stopping there on the spot, Bai Yan's cold smirk devolved into an unamused one. I said it already. I don't know who you're talking about. Me and Deed Song's purpose is very clear, and that's to exact revenge on the celestial palace. Why should I stop for the sake of a single person I never met? That only raised the anger level in Yun Ruoxi's heart. Quit pretending like you don't know the celestial lord is Chewy God. Oh right, You shouldn't know he's him unless someone told you, isn't it? Fine. 1,000 years ago it was he who personally tied you up and brought you to execution ground. It's he who caused you to lose your unborn baby. A visible stiffness gripped Bai Yan's body in that moment. There's unbridled anger surging forward, but more were that of pain and indescribably regret. What did you just say? It's Chui God who killed my son? It's he who hunted me down by sending his men. Several times she had dreamt of an unknown person, but due to the individual always having his back turned to herself, Bai Yan couldn't make out who it was. Adding in the fact that the one in the dream had black hair and a white robe, the connection never drew a spark. Dragonis missing 5. Why does it have to be him? Mother. Bai Xiachen felt the anger coming out his mother's face, so he subconsciously reached out to grasp onto her hand. Though the steam bun was still small in age, but he's nevertheless smart enough to know one of the reasons he's able to survive one of his encounters before was thanks to Chui God. Without that man, he and Bai Yan would be dead at the edge of the demon realm, due to those shadow guard that day. Why should I believe you? A crunching sound comes off of Bai Yan's fist as she glared daggers at the other woman. All you have is a one-sided story. You got no evidence. Besides, you wanted to hurt my son before. That makes your story even less credible. A sneer comes off of Yin Ruoxi's tongue in return. If you don't believe me, then you can go inquire the details on your own. Most only know he's the Celestial Lord, but those in power all know him by his name, so some of your upper members in the demon realm should know. Bai Yan slowly closes her eyes, knowing she couldn't keep denying the other side's story. It wasn't all that long ago where Chui God deceived her and nearly harmed her own son, but she still believed the man would give her a proper explanation. Yet the person never came again. How can it be him? Why did he save Xiachen and then nearly harmed him? Which side is the real him? Did he really kill the 4 sacred beasts, the same one in my dreams? This doesn't make sense. Why is everything so hard to figure out? The more she thought, the more tied Bai Yan was feeling inside. Part of her wants to believe in Chui God as a good person, but the other part of her said otherwise based on all the things that's transpired. So for a time the lady couldn't move, only standing there in silence for a long time. Yin Ruo, she wasn't going to stand patiently and wait, of course, showing bitter poison along the eyes. Bai Yan, if not for you, then I would have been his wife for a long time already. You clearly got Deedsong already. Why do you have to reappear again? What qualification do you have to hate the Celestial Palace? All you lost is a child, while I lost the happiness of a lifetime. That's right. In the mind of this vile being, a child was nothing more than a disposable object that doesn't hold a candle to her own happiness. Yin Ruoxi, what are you doing? Exactly then a cold rumbling voice cuts down from above. Going stiff due to the familiarity, the vile woman rigidly turns around and discovered that breathtaking face. However, instead of the cold and indifferent attitude like always, the person had on an outraged expression that has never been seen before. Lord, Yin Ruoxi stutters this out from the mouth, her face going pale under that menacing gaze. Let me explain. It's not like what you see. Chui God didn't pay any heed though. His entire attention only focused on Bai Yan, who sent him into a panic once their eyes met. Yenner. Bai Yan laughed in that moment. Not the small chuckle or derisive kind, but the heartfelt and pained cry of someone openly hurt by one's action. Against this, the Celestial Lord immediately felt an ominous sensation creeping up from his feet. Chui God, I ask you, is it because of you that my previous life ended up so miserable? My child, did he also leave me forever because of you? White tiger, azure dragon, black turtle, and vermilion bird. Did they all die because of your hands? Dragonis missing 6. Pain and sadness always dampen down after some time. In this case, Bai Yan's final emotion were that of indifference, because she didn't want to be hurt anymore. At this point, she only wants a clear answer. Yes. Under that indifferent gaze, Chui God painfully nodded and confirmed the truth. He didn't want to kill her, nor did she intend to harm her companions back then. However, The fact remains that her miserable fate and death was indeed caused by him. The man couldn't deny it. Bai Yin gently closes her eyes, because her heart was shaking immensely. She thought she was prepared for the final answer, but it's clear she wasn't entirely. Mother! The steambun tugs at the lady's hand with worry in his eyes. Then turning to the man with anger burning. You leave, don't you see my mother doesn't want to see you? Xiachen. A bittersweet smile comes off of the man's mouth. I really don't have any malice towards you, please believe me. Getting frustrated along his little face now, Bai Xiachen raises his voice into a yell. You hurt my mother's heart. You also killed Azure Dragon in them. How can you still say you don't hold malice against us? I know you are strong and I'm not your opponent. But one day I will grow up, and when that time comes, I will make you pay for everything you owe us. These words may be coming out of that childish mouth, but the tone and force in his voice showed that he's well on his way to becoming a ruler of one realm. Chewy God tasted a bitter sadness in his mouth at that moment. He could see the hatred coming out of the kid's eye, and the resentful tone shooting his way. It's then he knew, whatever hope he had of winning back Bai Yan's heart was forever lost. He won't ever have a chance again. Xiachen is right, one day we will pay back the blood debt. Bai Yin announces, her eyes hard and hostile now. Out of consideration that you saved my son that one time, I won't settle the matter with you today. However, the next time we meet is when we will put an end to everything. How could I have forgotten? How could I have done that? Celestial Palace. Chewy God. Yin Ruo 11. I won't let any of you go. Wait Yinner, let me explain. Chewy God wanted to reach out with his hand due to panic. Unfortunately for him, his hand was promptly slapped away when near contact. Don't touch me. Compared to Deedsong, you are scum. You're not even comparable to a strand of his hair. A visible tremor could be seen across the man's shoulder. A readable sign he's been hurt by that insult. If Bai Yin stopped for a second in her words, then snickering sarcastically. If you want me to forgive you, then it's possible. I want those from the Celestial Palace to die, including this Yin Ruashi. Can you kill them now? Initially the man flashed a flicker of hope in his eyes after hearing there's a chance to turn things around. But the latter part completely ripped the light out of his face like he's dead inside. Yin or not now, but in the future. In the future I will. The only light one. Perhaps Bai Yin already knew this would the sort of answer to come of her request, so her reaction was rather mild. So she's off limits too? Narrowing her eyes in, there's self-mockery and hatred towards the other person. Yin Ruashi instantly flew into an antsy panic, hurrying to stare at the Celestial Lord for help. This impostor uses her gaze to plead for mercy. I promise you, I will definitely give you a proper answer in the future. Chewy God says the same thing again. Yin Ruashi can't die now, nor can the Celestial Palace topple just yet, but I will definitely give her a proper answer. Chuckling in her voice now. If you want to give me an answer, then kill Yin Ruashi now. I want her to pay for harming my child. Other than that, she has nothing else to ask for. Lord, the impostor reflexively calls out, knowing full well how much of a position Bai Yin stands within Chewy God's heart. She's really afraid the man would slay her on an impulse. From beginning to end, the man never once gave Yin Ruashi a glance. Yinner, give me some time. She and the Celestial Palace cannot die now. You have to believe me. Everything I do is for you. He raises his hand again, wanting to hold on to that dress to pass on his feelings. Unfortunately for him, a small body cuts him off by slamming into him and knocking his footing back. Get out of here. Don't you to touch my mother. Bai Xiachen yells, his eyes full of disgust. Anyone who hurts his mother and break her heart are all bad people. One could literally see the air deflating out of Chewy God's soul in that moment. Against the little guy's face, he couldn't help but smile bitterly, because he wasn't making excuses here. In his mind, Yin Ruashi needs to live, and the Celestial Palace also needs to exist for now. Xiachen. Bai Yin pulls the boy back behind herself, her cold eyes wary and alert. You don't have to do this, I won't hurt him. The behavior across from himself hurts the man even more. If you won't hurt him, then why did you kill my child 1,000 years ago? He couldn't even get a glance at me before he left me forever. If you really want to help me, then why did you lie to me before? I can't even keep the last wisp of his existence with me because of you. Merely recalling the fact that her child died a lonely death was a piercing pain to Bai Yan's heart. So what if the little one is not human? At least he recognizes me as his mother. Mother! Bai Xiachen felt the pain coming out of his mother's heart and attempted to soothe it. Don't be sad. I will always be with you. We will never separate. Sure enough, the grief and pain in the woman's eye gradually dissipated under her child's hopeful gaze. In front of the hostility from both mother and child, Chui God didn't know what else to say at this point. He had nothing that could defend his stance, nor find any excuses to do so. Everything was true. He single-handedly ruined the woman's previous life and murdered her child. He did it all. The only light 3. Truly, Yun Ruoshi did in fact believe the man choking at her throat right now saved her, because he liked her, not because of something like using her as a shield. You and Yenner can't be compared together. Tossing the lump of meat to the ground in a barbaric manner, Chui God continues in a cold hard fashion. Keeper Ling and the others may be blind, but I am not. You will never be able to match her goodness. You will never be able to match her goodness. This sentence was akin to 1,000 arrows, each piercing right through to Yun Ruoshi's heart and burying her in a mountain of hurt. Why? Why do you keep liking her more than me when I've waited a millennium for you? What's so worthy to make you choose her over me? She asks with a sorrowful face. Another gush of wind blasts out of the man in response, this time powerful enough to blow the woman off the feet and into the bushes, thus causing her to become a tattered mess in the process. I said you can't be compared to her. What don't you understand? An annoyance filled the person's voice. This is my warning. I will only let you go this one time. If you appear before Yenner again, then don't blame me for being cruel. I don't care if you are useful or not. I will personally put an end to you. A visible shudder rocked Yun Ruoshi's body as she struggled to climb up from the ground. She couldn't believe this. As a result of her pouring emotions, a tidal wave of tears spewed out of those eyes like a waterfall. Why can't he simply kill me instead of saying those cruel words to me? I waited so long for him. Why do I deserve such a cruel fate? I thought even if you won't love, but you will one day marry me. Closing her eyes, she mutters this one sentence out. Didn't he almost marry me back then? If it wasn't for Bai Yan, perhaps we would be man and wife already. Humph. I only agreed because Keeper Ling promised me they wouldn't kill Yenner if I did so. I believed him, yet they went back on their promise and never intended to let her go. Yun Ruoshi, don't think I don't know you're one of the main reasons in pushing those old fools into treating her that way. A huge look of panic gripped the woman's face at being pointed out. No, I didn't. Lord, you must have misunderstood me. Is it Bai Yan? Did she tell you something false? How did he find out? It must be Bai Yan. Yes, it must be her. She must have said something while I wasn't around. Yenna don't know anything, so you can stop blaming her for everything. Only Keeper Ling, and them would be so oblivious. After a millennium, I've seen through it all. The funny thing was he too had been blinded by lies and deceit back then. Hence his foolish decision to harm his love of a lifetime. Going numb in the legs, Yun Ruoshi collapses to the ground again, her eyes exposing a look of distraught. And unlike earlier, the imposter wouldn't believe the man was doing it out of mercy or love. It's definitely something darker. So he knows everything. If he knew, then why did he leave me my life? I never liked you, never had and never will. When I first met you I already disliked you. And the only reason I remained polite was due to Yenner's connection. The only light 4. Now cherish the time you have remaining. There's not much left in it. After throwing down this bone-chilling sentence, Chui God turned and flew away like a brisk wisp of wind. He's always been like this. Come and go as he pleases without leaving a trace of his existence. Half a ring later, Yun Ruoshi finally returned to her senses after being left alone. Unlike the terrified expression she had on earlier, though from the conversation, her face was twisted and grotesque. Bai Yin, I want you to die. Even if I can't get the Lord, I will never give you a chance to live in this world in peace. Just you wait. If she wasn't here, if she didn't existence, Chewy God would have definitely loved me instead. Yes, this is all her fault. I did nothing wrong. Winger, get your ass out here, come out this instant. She roars. It didn't take long. Only a second for the figure in black to appear at the front. Though the person's face was constantly covered under his cloak, it didn't take much to see his expression was cool and calm. Winger, you said before that Bai Yin gave birth to a son, did you not? Go kill the child now. I want Bai Yin to suffer the experience of losing her child. Making a shudder, the man grew hesitant and unwilling. Didn't you say you only want me to deal with her daughter? Why are you asking me this now? You damn garbage, do you not see how she's treating me? Because of her, the Lord has misunderstood me. So what if I kill her son? Winger didn't speak, only staying still and silent for the longest time before replying. Deetsong's strength is very strong, coupled with the many powerful demons under him. I can't kill the young prince while under their watch. What little prince? Who allowed you to call him the little prince? That's a bastard child. A child born of foul blood. I don't care how you do it, you must kill the boy. I saved your life, so don't you forget that. You should be grateful to me. Isn't your Pteroraptor crow kind always willing to repay their debt? Winger hung head his under that scolding voice, but still managed to murmur a rebuke back. I am not a garbage. It's just that I can't use my full powers because of those enemies. They will find me if I do. What's more, I don't want to hurt a young innocent child. Roshi, I know you have a grudge against the Demon Queen, but you should be going after her and her husband, not. Upon seeing the livid face of the woman that's shooting a vicious glare his way, Winger promptly stopped and grew hesitant again. The child is only 2 years old. He doesn't know anything and haven't done anything. Please, I can't do this. The child can only blame himself for being born into that sort of family. He can't blame us. Getting bloodshot red in the eyes, Yun Ruashi loses all her cool. I am ordering you now as your benefactor, kill him. Winger closed his eyes, feeling the throbbing pain thump away at his own consciousness. He's a proud member of the Pteroraptor crow family, a prestigious demon kind that's known to repay any debt they owe. But to do something this heinous and immoral, he's finding it difficult to accept. The only light 5. Ruashi, I won't do it. I can help you fight the Demon King and your enemies, but I won't help you harm an innocent child that has done nothing to deserve such a fate. This is final. From those cool eyes, a strong sense of unyielding strength comes forward. He had compromised too many times before, and for that he regrets it. Now is the time he needs to put his foot down and makes a stance. There's more than one way to repay a debt, and it wasn't this way. Pack. The wicked imposter instantly flew into a rage and slapped the man across the face. It's loud and clear, leaving 5 red fingerprints along the skin. Garbage, you useless garbage. I wish you were dead instead of being so useless. Giving a cruel glare, Yun Ruashi turns and left without glancing back. She's very upset, and didn't care if her words hurt. Winger didn't feel angry or outraged as he watched that departing figure. To him, this was something that happens often, so he's numb to the insults already. What's more, he didn't care. For the Pteroraptor Crow clan, repaying a favor or debt doesn't mean they are forced to endure insult or humiliations. This was something he himself chose. One for the sake of being lifted from that dark place when he was young. The other being he also had a wisp of hope for the other woman, to return to her old self. After a long while of not moving, Winger was finally ready to leave as well when a powerful pressure came pushing down from above. Immediately, his face got white due to recognition. How did those people find me? Bang! A ray of thunder suddenly strikes down from the sky, hitting directly onto Winger's body. He wanted to dodge this attack, but failed due to how sudden it came. Next thing he knew was being flung to the ground from the impact, his mouth spewing blood as all color leaves his face. Although this thunder didn't have the same strength of a heaven's retribution, but it still left the poor man incredibly painful and injured. In his blurred state, He could vividly see the figure of the one person he wants to see most right now. Roshi. He held out his hand, seemingly wanting to grasp onto the hazy image. However, instead of lending a hand like any kind person would do, the impostor only showed a fearful picture in her existence. Then casting another glance upwards at the storm clouds rumbling above her head, this wretched woman didn't think twice and made a run for the other way. She had no qualm about fleeing and running for her life. To be fair, Yunruo she never intended to come back in the first place after she left the first time around. The only reason she returned was due to the loud commotion. Now that she's sure danger was around, the woman had no reason to stick around and get involved. Winger's consciousness slowly faded away as the strength left him, thus allowing his hand to fall to the ground after reaching out. Gradually, in his half-unconscious state, memories of old came echoing back. Big brother Winger, you have to believe me. I will come and take you out of this place. I am not strong enough now, but I can help heal some of your injuries. Pain go away, shoo. But what if you don't come? If I grow strong enough, then I will definitely come save you. But if you escape before I do, then you can come find me instead. I live at the Celestial Palace. Okay, if you don't come, then I will go out and find you. Slowly but surely, that warm, gentle voice which brought light into his life was fading away. He couldn't figure out why, but it's not the same anymore. Winger's Dilemma 1. Just before Winger's mind completely slipped away, his ear somehow manages to vaguely make out two voices near himself. He wants to open his eyes to see who they were, but the tiredness he had was stronger, and that stopped him from doing so. Singyi, who is he? Based on his appearance, it looks like he's been hit by lightning or something. What did he do to be struck by something like that? A snowy white tiger marched in front of the unconscious man, his mighty eyes staring down at the stranger on the ground. He's a demon like us, but his scent and aura are not familiar to me. I can't tell which tribe or clan he's from. Speaking afterwards was a woman in green, her face heroic and beautiful at the same time. Then what should we do with him? The tiger asks again with a childish voice. First, take him back to the city with us. If he's a demon, then we shouldn't leave him alone to die like this. As to his identity, we can confirm with the others when he's better. What's more, a seriously injured demon wouldn't pose a threat to them, and their friends anyway. Rather than being heartless and cold, the dragoness would rather be kind to help her own soul. Okay, I'll carry him on my back then. Using his mouth, the white tiger flung the poor guy into the air, and onto his back like a baggage. A brutish method, but an effective one nonetheless. Singyi didn't have any objections to this maneuver, and followed her companion from behind. Together, they bolted for the demon city without looking back. Unbeknownst to the pair though, they were being watched from the rear the entire time, by the very girl who fled earlier. Azure Dragon and White Tiger? They're here too. I can't let the demon realm's power continue to grow, otherwise the problem will be out of control. Yunruo, she hasn't forgotten the appalling power the 4 demon generals possessed back in their prime. If they are to return, then it would spell trouble, not only for the Celestial Palace, but herself as well, because she had a major hand in their demise. If everything comes out, the first person those 4 would murder would be her. But concern was one thing. This wretched woman wasn't so ignorant to not realize what's the most urgent matter at hand. She must hurry back and make sure the keepers never meet Bai Yin again. Otherwise the other person might bring up the topic of the moon amulet in her possession. If it becomes known she's not the real owner, and Bai Yin was, she would be nothing. She wouldn't be able to live the life of luxury she has now, nor would she have a loyal dog like Winger, who came on his own. Heck, she wouldn't even be able to protect herself without others to shelter her. Inside a bed chamber, Winger had Jay struggles to open his eyes as a mountainous level of fatigue gripped his body. Despite this discomfort, the injured guy still felt abnormally at ease here. Winger's Dilemma 2. Are you awake? A calm and old voice echoes in Winger's ear, causing his body to go stiff. If you're awake, then that's good. I've already examined your body, And you're indeed a member of the Pteroraptor crow family. I and your father Skywing are old friends. To think the old lad would manage to leave behind a seedling. Shooting his eyes open now at the mention of his family, the injured guy wanted to get up to get more information, but fell back down as he did so. You know my father? Dragonflame calmly nodded. You shouldn't be born yet when I was locked up, so it's normal for you to not know me. According to our connection, you should call me uncle. Does your father mention me often? Winger bitterly shook his head over the reminder painful memories. I don't remember a lot of things because I've been locked up in a dark place for many years. It wasn't until a couple hundred years ago did I manage to escape and come into the world. Where is this place? Did you save me? No, it wasn't me who saved you. It was Tsing-Yi and Little Rice who happened to find you in a forest. They brought you back after noticing your injuries. You're now inside the palace of the Demon City. Demon City's palace? Going rigid over this news, Winger's face hung low as a bittersweet flavor filled his tongue. I'm inside the city's palace? Why did it have to be the Demon Queen's people who saved me? Now what am I supposed to do? My clan rule requires me to repay an debt I owe to another, but they are the ones Ruah she wants to kill. How am I supposed to fit both sides? What's wrong? The old goat asks with a frown, not understanding why the perplexed and troubled expression of the young man. Shaking his head after realizing he's revealed too much. I'm all right. Do you have an alchemist here? How come my body feel like it's not hurting anymore? Oh, our queen is an alchemist, and it's the little princess who gave you a Dan pill. Boom. Instantly, Winger's mind went blank as it exploded. There are countless voices echoing in his mind right now, each vying to persuade him on a certain course of action. The princess? You said there's a princess in the demon realm? But the queen is supposed to have given birth to 2 boys. Isn't that what the rumors say? Now this time it was the old goat to make a strange look. You write on the queen having 2 sons, but the second birth came as a twin, 1 girl and 1 boy. A buzzing sound rocked the poor man's brain after getting the confirmation. Closing his eyes, even his lips were quivering from shock. Why is this happening? Why is there a princess? Do I really have to commit to such a vicious act in the end? But I can't do it. I can't murder an innocent child. Originally Dragonflame didn't have any doubts regarding Winger's motive or origin, but after this display of ups and downs in behavior, the old goat couldn't help but add an extra sense of alarm towards this new guy. It looks like I need to have half Ching Sing Snake Woman tail this guy in secret. Although me and his father are good friends, but I don't know too much about him as a person. I can't risk this because of my own ties. Though he thought that, the old goat still wanted to believe he's only overthinking this matter. Otherwise, he might just have to end his old friend's only son. That would be a regret he himself would be pained in. Winger's Dilemma 3. Due to how troubled Winger was inside, the man did not notice the odd look coming his way. Then just as he's about to speak again, a soft crisp voice cuts in from the doorway. Grandpa Dragonflame, is the uncle awake? This voice may be childish in nature, but it's more than enough to make the bedridden patient tremble. Looking over, he could see it was a baby girl that's probing her head through the entrance and looking at him in the eye. Princess, walk slowly, don't fall. Mooing speaks out after seeing the baby toddling forward in a quick manner. She's afraid the girl might trip over due to this and get hurt. However, it's also due to her careless remark that confirmed Di Ling Yan's identity to the assassin. So she's the princess of the demon realm? How could this be? Such a cute and adorable baby. It would require a truly beautiful woman to produce such a child. For a while, Winger's curiosity to learn of Bai Yin as a person grew, making him show a side that he never thought to be within himself. Uncle, Sing, you said you were hurt, so I gave you my mother's medicinal pills. Does it still hurt? With big innocent eyes, Di Ling Yin asks after coming over to the bedside. Does it still hurt? Once again, memories of old came swimming back to him, causing Winger's heart to ache tremendously with turmoil. How long has it been since I received such warmth? That's right. That time in the darkness with her. Ever since she left that time, I never felt it again. Grandpa Dragonflame, Is something still wrong with this uncle? Di Ling Yen tilts her little head. Mother gave me a lot of Dan pills. Here, uncle. You can have them because I can't finish it all. The old goat smiled with content at the baby's good sense. Of course you can. But if you give him everything, then what will you eat, princess? Biting her thumb in a troubled fashion. That's right, they taste really good and I can eat a lot every day, but… Grandpa Dragonflame, I'm sure mother will want me to do this. Me not having any will only mean I can't eat some snacks for a while uncle here is injured and needs them more. For nearly 2 years this baby girl has been protected very well, so her heart remains pure and beautiful, thus winning most of the demons here in this city. This includes the old goat who showed a pleased smile. I really hope I'm overthinking this, otherwise I can't imagine how hurt the princess will be if my speculations are true. Winger, do you remember the rules of your family clan? Dragonflame's expression suddenly got stern and hard. The Pteroraptor clan is known to repay any debt they owe. Your life was saved because of the princess's graciousness by giving you all these Dan pills to consume. Without her, you would be at the death's gate by now thanks to the injury you sustained. The patient visibly stiffened over the news. Closing his eyes in pain. Rest assured, Uncle Dragonflame, I know what I have to do. Winger's dilemma for such a beautiful girl. How can I hurt her? I really can't do this. I'm sorry, Ruashi. Mooing. You take care of the princess while I go finish some business outside. If anything happens, call me immediately. Dragonflame leaves after giving this instruction, though the old goat still felt uncomfortable trusting Winger completely at this stage. But he believes the guy wouldn't try anything while in the palace. It's far too secure and hard to escape if he does. Once they were alone, Winger's gaze promptly turned to the baby girl, his eyes warm. Princess, your mother the queen. What kind of person is she? He's been told for a very long time that the woman Rua she hated was a vile being for ages. Now's his chance to find out the details for himself. Showing a proud face upon having her mother mentioned, Di Ling Yen happily obliged the request by propping her chin very high. My mother is the best person in the world. She's beautiful and kind, and I want to be exactly like her when I grow up. Maybe not exactly since she's so excellent, but I will be the second closest to mother. Speaking of the last bit in her sentence, the baby girl has gotten that brow furrowed up due to her own words. Princess, Mooing smiles warmly and interrupts. It is getting late. If we don't hurry to dinner, then all those delicious foods will end up in the prince's tummy. Ah! Ling Yen immediately jumped, her face urgent. I need to hurry. Otherwise Jean Tian will devour everything again, and I won't get any. Without delay, she led the way on her own for the exit. This was exactly what the maid wanted to happen. She may not have any hostility towards this stranger, but she's not foolish enough to think he's a person that she shouldn't be wary of. In any case, the maid doesn't want the princess to stick around for too long, lest he does something unexpected. The negative opinion towards Winger right now is honestly unwarranted. His entire focus has been shifted to the past. To be exact, the time where Yin Ruashi explained her reasoning for changing so much thanks to the Demon Queen. You are right. When I saved you, I did it out of good intentions. Who doesn't want to be kind and good to others? But what did I get in return? I was so kind to her, yet she stole my fiancé. If you hadn't been so late in coming, would I have experienced all those hardships? I wouldn't, that's what. You don't know what she did to me. She ordered all beasts to hunt me down, and my strength stagnated as a result of the injury I sustained. Bai Yin could clearly get me to become that old coot's disciples as well back then. All she had to do was speak up. But guess what, she didn't and left me in the dark. Furthermore, it was she who abandoned the Celestial Lord and hooked up with Demon King Deetsong on her own. Even when she didn't want it, she won't let me have my own happiness. That woman's heart has always been poisonous. At least I was good-hearted and saved you. If it was her who encountered you back then, you would be dead now. I really pity Deetsong. A woman like her can't possibly educate a child to be good. Eventually she and her breed will be a scourge to both realms. By then everyone will be plagued by their evil. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.